Hello, friends and readers. Today we are going to continue to discuss Martina the Beautiful Cockroach. We have been talking about character traits and how these characters help the development of a story. So, as we started reading this yesterday, we came across the first character, which was the rooster. And Martina, the main character, is doing a coffee test. So what she's doing is she is spilling coffee on these suitors, which mean people who are there trying to date you and kind of start checking you out. So Martina is spilling coffee on these suitors' shoes to see how they will react to her doing so. And by doing this test, Martina's going to find out how they will treat her when they are angry. So the first character we looked at yesterday, we realized that he was very arrogant and cocky. He was very interested in looking at himself, and he was focused on looking better, and he got very angry when Martina did this coffee test. So at first she was really hesitant to do this, but as we go, we're going to notice that she wants to do the coffee test to see if these are the right characters and men for her. But while we're looking at that, we're thinking about the character traits and thinking about how do these characters react? So what are their actions? What do they say to Martina? And then what are they thinking about this coffee test and how they act when she does this? So when we're identifying character traits, we want to make a decision and based off what the character says, what the character does, and what the character is thinking. So we're going to focus on the words that surround these characters. When we're looking at the character traits, we want to remember that they're generally adjectives that describe how a character mainly is. So afraid, careless, stubborn, sad, hardworking, gentle, foolish, dishonest, jealous, lonely. We're looking at words that are descriptive, okay? We're not just saying mad, angry. We're using very strong vocabulary that we should be moving into. So, as we look at these next couple characters, we're thinking about, again, their thoughts, their feelings, their actions, and what they say when Martina does the coffee test. So, we're looking at Don CERDO, the pig. As we read this before, we thought about him being smelly, right? The story tells us he lives in a rotten pigsty. It has stinky cheese and rotten eggs. So as we read this and we looked at it earlier, we thought about this pig being a slob. He's lazy and he's very obnoxious, right? He's trying to talk to Martina, but he smells so bad. It says, "It's the sweet aroma of my pigsty. Rotten eggs, turnip peels, and stinky cheese." So we know he lives in filth, right? The reason we know he's kind of lazy and obnoxious is when Martina spills the coffee on him, he says, "When you are my wife, there will be no end to cleaning up." This character expects Martina to do all of these things for him. So the coffee test told us that he is not going to be a good suitor for Martina. We looked at what he said, which is there will be no end to cleaning. He's telling us that he lives in a pigsty, being a pig himself. So this was not the right character for Martina, but these character traits really tell us who he is. The next character we had was Don LAGARTO, which was the lizard. When I look at this picture, I think of the visualization that I talked about the other day. You can see in this picture that Martina, the cockroach, is cringing and kind of cowering away from him. He kind of looks creepy. He's trying to get in her personal space, and we always say, "Stay out of my personal bubble." So right off the bat, just from looking at this picture, we can see that Martina is uncomfortable. And as we read, we can look in the story and say that this character is very creepy, he's sneaky, and he's phony, which is another word for fake. Well, how do I know this? Well, the story says you shouldn't sneak up on a lady like that. And the lizard said, I don't sneak, I creep. So he's telling us himself he is a very creepy character indeed. And the reason we know that he's kind of fake and phony, and he says, and to think I was going to marry you. Right there, we know that the lizard's intention was never to marry our Martina, but he was going to try to eat her. So he's a very creepy, sneaky, fake, phony character. So again, he is not a good suitor based on his character traits. Remember, I'm looking at what he said, which was I don't sneak, I creep. What he does in this picture, we can tell he's being very odd. And what he thinks he's going to eat her. The next character is PEREZ. In this character, we see a change. As we're seeing this picture, Martina looks a little bit happier. PEREZ looks like a gentle, kind man. And Martina even tells us, oh, he looks so adorable. So as we look at the character traits of PEREZ, we can say he is very well-mannered and he is respectful. In the story, it tells us that he says, the beautiful cockroach he finished for her. When she said her name, he said she was beautiful. And another thing he said was that, I know you are strong and good. Who cares if you are beautiful? This little character has really bad eyesight and he can't even see what Martina looks like, but he just knows that she is very sweet. And Martina, in this case, did not even get to do the coffee test. It was PEREZ who spilt coffee on her to see how she would react. So she finally found a suitor that was right for her because he was well-mannered and respectful. These character traits are very strong in this story. They tell us who these characters are, how they would have treated Martina, and that's what we have to kind of decide as readers. It helps us understand why she wouldn't want to be with these other suitors and why she would pick someone like PEREZ. So understanding the characters helps us understand the story as a whole. If it just introduced us and it said the cockroach wanted to have a man, well, then she would have just fallen in love with the first guy. But as we read the story, we looked at all the details that helped us realize that the character traits play a very important part to our learning. So, read this story again, look at it closely, and look at what the characters think, say, and feel to focus on their traits. We're going to next focus on what changes throughout a story and how the character develops based on these character traits. So how one character's actions might change how another character's events progress. Enjoy.